Now, the names of some of the people who've been banned from entering the UK have been published by the Home Office for the first time.
They're accused of holding extremist views or stirring up religious and racial hatred. The list includes Islamist extremists, white supremacists, an American church pastor and a controversial radio chat show host. Well, the Home Secretary, Jackie Smith, joins us from our Westminster studio now. Ms. Smith, good morning. 22 people then excluded in the 5 months up to March, but you've only named 16. What's the point of having an exercise in openness if you're not entirely open?
Well, first of all, we changed the presumption last October that we would consider naming them in every single case where we excluded people. Incidentally, we're excluding more now following the change in that presumption. But there are some cases where the public interest actually is against naming them. For example, if somebody isn't clear about the information that we have about them and naming them would make that clear, it might be one reason why we wouldn't. So the 16 that we've named are those where we believe, having changed the rules, that the public interest is clearly in naming them. And what it also does, of course, is it enables people to see the sorts of unacceptable behaviour that, frankly, we think we're not willing to have in this country, where coming here is actually a privilege. And what we say about those people that we exclude from this country says something about the sorts of values that we want to live by.
So among those excluded, two leaders of a violent Russian skinhead gang, a former Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard and a neo-Nazi, but also a radio talk show host. Isn't that sort of suppressing freedom of speech in a sense?
Well, I have to say this radio talk show host isn't your sort of Terry Wogan type character by any means. This is somebody who has fallen into the category of fomenting hatred, of such extreme views and expressing them in such a way that it's actually likely to cause inter-community tension or even violence if that person were allowed into the country. And, you know, we have a choice in this country as to who we want to welcome here and who not. And it's a privilege to come here. And if people can't live up to the sorts of standards that we would expect, I think it's right that we, as we have done, exclude them from the country.
Yeah, the Home Office has also excluded an American Baptist pastor and his daughter. They both picketed the funerals of AIDS victims in the past, behaviour which might not be very palatable, but the argument would go that you should let them into the country until they commit deeds that you don't like and then exclude them.
Well, no, I think we are in a position where we can actually decide who comes into this country. I want to welcome people to this country who have something to offer to our economy, culturally, who are willing to live by the standards that we live by in this country. But if people have so clearly overstepped the mark in terms of the way, not just that they're talking, but the sort of attitudes that they're expressing, to the extent that we think that this is likely to cause and have the potential to cause violence and inter-community tensions in this country, then actually I think the right thing is not to let them into the country in the first place, not to open the stable door and then try and close it later. It's a privilege to come to this country. There are certain behaviours that mean that you forfeit that privilege. That's what we've made the decisions on the basis of, and these people have fallen foul of those unacceptable behaviours that we've set out quite clearly.
It's a very broad definition, though, isn't it? And who makes the final decision?
The final decision is made by me on the basis of advice that we gather from across government, looking at what we have set down as the criteria for unacceptable behaviour, fomenting or justifying or glorifying terrorism or serious crime, or expressing views that are likely to cause intra-community tension in this country. So we've set down what those unacceptable behaviours are. We have previously excluded people on the basis of that, but last October I said I wanted to tighten that up. Firstly, to make a presumption that you will be excluded if you demonstrate those sorts of behaviours, and that we'll only lift that exclusion if you can positively demonstrate that you have turned your back on the actions or the attitudes that you had previously, and secondly, that we'd make public those people where we can who we have excluded, because I think that sends out a clear international message about the values and standards that we have in this country, those people that we'll welcome and those people that we won't.
OK, I wonder if we can move on